And so I'll be able to follow up with this recording. We'll give people a few more minutes. We'll probably get started at 2 past the hour, if that's okay with everyone. Also, for everyone who's joining, we are going to have a Q&A session at the end, but if anything does come up during the presentation, feel free to just drop a question in the Q&A box. And Erinn's going to be monitoring those questions that come through so we can either answer them as they come through, or if it's best to wait until the end to really talk about some of those topics, we will do that then. And then if there's, of course, anything that we are not able to get to within this hour, I'll follow up with not only the recording, but answers to those questions as well. So we'll make sure that no question goes unanswered. Awesome. Okay. So I guess we can get started. So my name is Cara. I've met most of you. I am the manager of customer success here at Amplemarket, and we're very excited about this new tasks feature. So Erinn Schall, she is running support here at Amplemarket as well. She and I are both going to be walking you through this new feature and all of the ins and outs with building sequences, all of the different task options that you have, and then really how to engage with them and how to execute them. So the whole idea behind this new feature is to allow for you to really take all of your different touch points that you typically have. So whether that be on LinkedIn, maybe it's just a manual touch point, maybe you're sending, cake or cookies or something really personalized to someone, you can take all those different touch points and add them to one succinct flow so that you're not having to create reminders for yourself in your calendar or write a sticky note on your desk to remind yourself to follow up with someone. So the idea behind this tool is that it'll be more of a personal assistant for you. So it'll remind you of these tasks and help you execute them in real time. And it gives you a lot more control over how you're reaching out to people, when you're reaching out to them. And if you decide during the sequence that you want to skip this task for a specific person, by all means, you can skip them. And I'll show you what that looks like and how to do it. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and I will show you our new feature and how to navigate it. So bear with me. Okay. Can you guys see that okay? Erinn, can you see that?
I was muted, but yes, you can.
Okay, great. I was like, silence isn't a great.
I know. I keep forgetting you can't see anyone, so we know what's going on. But yes, it's perfect.
Wonderful. So just to give you a heads up, so you're all familiar with the typical sequence template section of the app. And you can see this is our John Doe, our dummy account. Up until very recently, all of these different stages and steps have been very email oriented. So recently we made the ability or built the ability for you to add additional sequences in here. So these icons have started to change from just email to LinkedIn. You have manual emails now, phone calls, which I'll touch on in more detail, and some generic tasks, which just look like this sticky note that I was talking about. So you can create a brand new template just like you were able to before, but just for this specific example, I want to show you a campaign that we have built out already. So this example is just a typical outbound campaign. And you'll see that all of the stages are listed below as they were before, but instead of them just simply being emails, you can see the LinkedIn profile visits, manual emails, calls, and we'll dig into all of that. Something else I wanted to note up here is that when you're building out the sequence template, you can name it as you were able to before. We also have these advanced settings here. So The advanced settings, instead of just limiting you to these 3 options here, these are specifically related to tasks. So as we go through this, these settings will make more sense. But the idea here is that if a task is missing data, so an example here would be if a call task is missing a phone number, or if a LinkedIn task is missing a LinkedIn profile, would you like to automatically skip that task, or would you like to keep that task and make it into something more manual where you can actually take manual action on that, or decide to skip it on your own terms? And the same idea for this autopilot task if it fails to execute. So moving on to the tasks themselves, I'll show you this full example where this LinkedIn profile visit, we have 2 different modes. There's autopilot and there's manual. So the idea behind autopilot and manual is that if it's on autopilot, all of these LinkedIn tasks, what that means is that for 50 people that might be in the sequence, all you have to do is click, yes, I want to execute on this day. And we'll automatically we'll take this action for all 50 people. If you want to make this more manual, we'll give you the option to visit this person's profile manually. So it's 1 by 1 by 1. And the idea behind this is just to give you a lot more control over these actions. And most of you are probably familiar with the LinkedIn bulk actions that we had before. So this is the same idea. It just gives you a little bit more control than those bulk actions might have in the past. Email. So we have the automatic emails that were exactly what sequences were before. So all of those were automatic emails. You can use the dynamic fields. You can use the liquid syntax, those if-else statements. And that's great. That allows you to personalize to an extent. But we were getting a lot of feedback where people maybe they were using our LinkedIn extension so that they could send these sequences on a one-off basis and gather more information on these leads that would allow for them to really personalize that message 1 by 1 by 1. So instead of you having to schedule the same sequence you're not looking at your sequence page and it's not going to say one person, one person, one person. It's going to be one sequence that allows for you to approve each individual message as it comes through. And I'll show you that as well. It's pretty cool. You can navigate to their LinkedIn profile directly from the extension and gather all the information you need. So the call task. So for those of you who are already using the dialer or testing out the dialer, it has not officially been released just yet. So I'm going to explain what this call task is. And then, within the coming weeks, we are officially going to announce the dialer. But the idea behind this is that we give you the option to actually cold call people directly from Amplemarket. So again, another one of those touch points that we're hoping to really make easier for you to build into your flow. So with the call task, you can still use our dynamic fields, which is great. So, if you have a list of 50 people, you don't want to forget that you're calling George from Amplemarket, right? So we can use those dynamic fields, pull them into your notes, and then if you're a manager building this flow out, you can make sure that your SDRs are actively touching on all of the points that you want to get across to, or maybe they're questions that you really want to ask these leads. And then, if you don't want to leave a voicemail, don't leave a voicemail. So you can really, again, just leave those notes and have control over how your SDRs are interacting with the leads here. This example here is an example of one of those classic automatic steps. And you'll see that we're using that liquid syntax. We're using those if-else statements. And for those of you who might be new to Amplemarket and aren't familiar with that liquid syntax, please let me know. We are actually thinking of hosting an additional webinar on doing a deep dive on liquid syntax as well, so that you can better understand it and understand how to better apply it and use it for your own team. But the idea here is that if a specific field contains X, let's send them Y. So if somebody lives in California or New York, we're going to send them this message versus anywhere else, we're going to send them this message. So that's a way for you, even within these automatic messages, this allows you to add that level of personalization, and really make sure that each message is tailored to an extent. LinkedIn follow. So just like you were able to do as a bulk action before, you can follow people on LinkedIn. And just like the visit step, you can either do this on autopilot, or if you switch this over to manual, we will give you a button that allows you to then navigate to someone's LinkedIn profile and follow them that way. Another example of a call, another example of an email. LinkedIn message. So this is new. So this was not a part of those LinkedIn bulk actions that we had before. We got a lot of questions about this as well. So the LinkedIn messaging will, just as as you would expect it to, it allows you to send a message on LinkedIn. We have autopilot or manual. So autopilot will work just as the automated emails would. So it's the same message that's going to adapt based off of dynamic fields, and it's going to adapt according to those leads and then send in bulk, versus if it's on manual, you can approve those as you go. Something I want to note here is that if you have LinkedIn Premium, if you have Sales Navigator, you have the option to approve whether or not we can use an in-mail credit. So if you're using the autopilot feature and you're not a first degree connection, I want to make sure this is clear. If you're not a first degree connection with somebody, then we can fall back and use one of your in-mail credits. So you have the ability to either say yes or no to that. This would be an example if you're looking to send a message to someone and you're not a first degree connection. That's an example of something that a task would not be able to be completed. So we would just list that as a task that you would either need to manually take action on connecting with that person first, or you can skip that altogether. Okay. So then something else I just want to show you, an overarching view of all the different tasks that you have at your fingertips. So email we talked about, the profile visits we talked about, the LinkedIn follow. We also have LinkedIn liking of the last post. So the liking of the last post is quite literally the most recent post that is on someone's LinkedIn. So ideally, the liking of the last post would be for a lead who is very active on LinkedIn. So we give you the ability to also now manually use this feature. So in the case that somebody's last post was more than a year ago, you can decide to skip that task maybe. So we're giving you, again, all of the control in order to make sure that your outreach is as personalized and tailored as you need it to be. Connection requests we went over, LinkedIn messages, and then LinkedIn voice messaging. So I'm not sure if all of you have noticed this or have been making use of this feature. It's an extremely powerful feature. If you navigate to somebody on LinkedIn's profile who's a first degree connection, you'll see a little button that pops up. And it's the only reason you're seeing this is if the Amplemarket Google Chrome extension is downloaded. You have the ability to leave a voice message and it'll show up just like a typical text message would on LinkedIn. However, it's literally going to be your voice. So I don't know if any of you communicate with your friends or family via iMessage when you just kind of take a voice recording and send it through. It can be a lot more fun that way. So we give you the option to do this on LinkedIn as well. You can imagine it's a much more personalized experience for the end user. And we see about a 23% increase in likeliness that person's going to respond. So this is a great feature to use. Obviously, this is only going to be a manual task. So if I were to add this to the flow, there's no option to make this autopilot because every single one of them should be personalized. So you can add notes for yourself here. Maybe you want to check out the latest posts on their LinkedIn, just reminders for you on actions to take in order to make sure that the voice message you're leaving is relevant, is meaningful, and will yield some engagement. Then we have the call, which I talked about with the dialer. So that dialer functionality is coming. It'll be something that you can add to your plan. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the future. And then lastly, we have a generic task. So I use the example of reminding yourself to send someone cookies, send them flowers. This could be a very high value lead. I'm thinking about this from my perspective as a customer success manager. Maybe there's a reason why I would want to write a handwritten note to someone. So I can remind myself of these tasks that might not necessarily be able to be executed within Amplemarket, but I can still be reminded of them. And that's extremely powerful because it can be timely and you can make sure that you're staying on top of all of these tasks. Another small tidbit that I want to point out is that you can also move these steps up and down and you can delete them. So before, when it was, I want to say maybe we started kind of sneaking this feature in, or sneaking this update into the feature when it was only email, maybe about a month ago. But now it allows you to very easily move these stages up and down in the flow, so you don't have to copy and paste like you were doing before. So this is a great addition. And then right here, you can automatically choose if you just want to skip these tasks after it's overdue by a certain number of days, you can do that. This would just allow you to save some time as well. So if it's something that just doesn't feel relevant in the moment, by all means, feel free to use this feature. So I can't see anyone, but any questions that came up during this portion of the presentation?
All clear on the Q&A right now, but if anyone has any that they want us to hit right now before we move forward, feel free to type those into the Q&A box.
Awesome. And I will actually, I have gotten this question several times, so I'm going to preemptively answer it. I have gotten the question surrounding LinkedIn actions and the ability to execute 2 different actions within the same day. Absolutely understandable use case, and something that within building the sequence is not possible at this point in time. That being said, there's a way to do that. So I'll show you how to do that within the task executor. But as you can see here, we have, send this one day after previous stage. So the least number of days that you can send or do an additional task is 1 day. So if you did want to, for example, visit someone's LinkedIn profile and send them a message on the same day, I will show you exactly how to do that within the task executor. You can just, by default, set the sequence to be 1 day after. And then as soon as you start executing those tasks, you can speed up the timeline of when those tasks are executed. All right, so that is sequence templates. Also, just wanted to let everyone know that the ability to add all of these different stages, these different types of tasks into the outbound sequence flow is soon also going to be coming to the reply templates. So just keep that in mind. If you're an active user of reply templates, you will be able to add these additional steps into that in the very near future. So just keep that in mind. Oh, I actually did want to leave. So on the left-hand side, you've probably noticed this new to-do list image. This is where you can access all of the different tasks that you currently have running. So this is an example of, actually, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to show you what happens when you actually schedule a sequence. It's the same exact thing that you were doing before, but just in case anyone hasn't done this yet, I'm going to walk you through what it looks like and then show you what it looks like when you actually are executing these tasks that have been scheduled. So let's go to the sequences page. I'm going to start a sequence. This might take just a moment. So then we're going to use some leads from a customer profile. So let's do some VPs in Denver who like to ski. Why not? Okay, so we're going to click through next. We're going to select one of our campaigns. This is the outbound campaign that I was just showing you before. I'm going to click through next. And this is exactly what you're used to, just with the typical email flows. You will, just a heads up, even if you only are doing task flows that include LinkedIn actions, which for the record is possible, you don't always have to include emails. You could do a task flow that's simply just LinkedIn and phone calls, or just LinkedIn, or even just generic tasks, just kind of making your sticky notes virtual. So you can do whatever you want with this. You can make it your own. We still are going to require you to set up a mailbox to send this from. So if I were to send this now, it's going to be scheduled, and you'll be able to see that we have 20 people in total who are going to go through this outbound campaign. Wonderful. Then we go to the tasks page, and it will probably take just a few moments for those people to start going through this flow. And so this is when you're going to start executing these tasks. On the left-hand side, you'll see at the top, actually, I should say, you'll see all of the ones that are due today. You'll see all of the ones that are upcoming. And so just a note here is that as soon as you start you'll only see the upcoming steps as soon as you execute the first stage for that lead. And I'll talk about that in more detail in a moment. You can also see all of the tasks that have been completed and all of the tasks that have been skipped. And this is just for your records. So you'll be able to see in more detail who you skipped. Maybe there's a reason why, just understanding who's actually been engaged with through some of these sequences. You can also filter based off of when they're due, who the owner is, the type. So any of these types of tasks specifically. And then you can also filter based off of any that are manual and any that are on autopilot. So again, I mentioned before, autopilot, you click one button and it'll go. Manual is one by one. So just think about it that way. And actually, Jacob, one of our AEs, described this in a great way. I really liked this. Autopilot, if you're on a plane and the pilot puts the plane into autopilot, that's great. It can fly the entire way, but someone needs to press the button. So that's who you are. You're the pilot. And as long as you press that button, the rest of the tasks will be able to initiate smoothly. And I see we just got a question. Erinn, did you see that come through?
Yes, and I can read it out for you because it is going to be kind of something tasks related in where we're setting sequences. So it says, if we have a sequence already sent, say weeks ago or even completed, can we select all the leads and start a sequence with a LinkedIn task template only, kind of like we do for bulk actions post sending the sequence?
That's a great question. So I think it depends on where in the app you're looking to access those leads. But yes, you would be able to start an additional sequence with those leads. And this is a common question that I get surrounding the ability to reach out to people who you've just reached out to within the last X number of days, months. We have two different types of exclusion lists. We have one that's basically permanent unless you actively remove someone from this, and those can be imported from your CRM. They can be added on a one-off basis right down here within your settings. And you can add them on a domain level, you can add them on an individual level. So those people will just not be added to you can override that as well, but it's a little bit more permanent. We also have a dynamic exclusion list, which is it's on a 3-month cycle. So if you've reached out to somebody within the last 90 days, we will not automatically add them to a sequence, but that can be overridden. And that's in the process of scheduling a sequence. You'll see, and I can circle back to this, Erinn, if you don't mind reminding me after, in case I forget. When you're scheduling a sequence, there's an advanced settings dropdown, and there are 2 different options. The second is to exclude people who you've reached out to within the last 90 days. Just unclick that, and then you can add them to a new sequence. And so if that's just solely LinkedIn actions, you can do that very easily that way. But great question. And if I didn't answer that correctly, feel free to follow up and we can chat about this in more detail. All right. So I just wanted to walk you through what it looks like to execute. So let's say we have all of these 31 in that are due today. And these all just so happen to be autopilot LinkedIn actions because that's how many people that we added to the last sequence. So if I select just a few of these, let's say I just want to start with 3, I can execute these 3 tasks. What will happen is you'll see this window pop up. So now I'm actively visiting all of these profiles. So as this is running through, you'll see kind of like a ticker. So it's going to take you to visit all of these people. And then right now I have only 6 tasks in upcoming. So this is when people are moving from stage 1 to stage 2. But if I refresh, I now have 8 because those 3 people are moving through the flow. So let's go to upcoming. So now I have some people are waiting for stage 2 and some people are waiting for stage 3, which is a call. So now if I were to execute, and you can do this in bulk as well. So you don't have to just select 2 people at a time. I'm just doing this to show you it's a little bit more digestible. So if I were to execute these 2 tasks, this window is going to pop up on the right and we're going to start executing. So let's go. And these are manual emails. So stage one was visiting their LinkedIn profile. Stage two is a manual email. So this is pretty cool because you can, one, visit their Amplemarket account. You can see where they are in their flow. So this is the entire sequence. You can get all their information. You can see what sequence they're being sent. You can see what customer profile they're coming from. You can also reveal some more information if you, this will cost a premium phone credit, just wanted to note that, but you could reveal their phone number here. You can see where in the flow they are. So maybe after this profile visit, you don't really want to send them a manual email. Maybe you just want to give them a call. You can go ahead and skip that. So let's say I'm going to skip this for Alyssa. We're just going to skip this for Alyssa. Now we have Anthony. So Anthony, I can pull up his Amplemarket account as well and see where he is. Same idea. We can also pull up somebody's LinkedIn. So we're able to pull up Anthony's LinkedIn, get more information about him so we can really hone in that message. So you can start the message, have some sort of a template going, maybe make some notes for yourself. And then you can just type away. You can type away and then send this email to Anthony specifically. And so that's an example of how these manual tasks will operate. And then I can show you what these call tasks will also look like. So if we were to, I'm going to just skip these to show you what the celebratory stage, which is kind of fun. So once you're done with all of your tasks for the day, I'll give you some confetti, some love, and then you can just click done. So you're done with those. And then let's go to the call tasks. So if I wanted to, I'll just do one. So if I just wanted to execute this one task, let's go. So what we would be able to do if we can't find phone data, this is a great example of one that we would halt because we're not able to pull their phone data. If you're able to pull that from elsewhere, wonderful. You can type their phone number in here. If we are able to pull the phone data, it will automatically populate in here. And then you can give them a call directly from the extension. Let's say for this example, I'm just going to skip. So we're done. So you can imagine as you're going through the flows, all of these tasks are kind of moving through due and upcoming to completed. And so if you wanted to one day just focus on only manual, we can just show you all the manual tasks that you need to execute. And so this might make it a little bit more digestible for you. And then you can also focus on, let's just cruise through these autopilot tasks and just get them done. We can set those up as well, or just show you those as well. Awesome. So any questions? Again, I'm asking and I can't hear anyone, so feel free to just type them in. But I think this new feature, because the user experience is new, it can be a little bit daunting, and there are a few moving parts here. But it is, the idea here is to give you a lot more control. And so I think, we've been talking to some clients who have already started using this, and it's made their lives so much easier already. They're moving away from their Excel spreadsheets, they're moving away from their calendars. And not only that, but it allows you to stay timely. So their number of meetings that they're booking, they're really able to stay on top of and follow up with their leads in a way that really increases their conversion rate to meetings. So this is a really great new feature, and we're very excited about it. Okay, Erinn, anything that I should touch on that I might have missed off the top of your head?
I don't think so. The only thing that I had been thinking of was explaining the difference between autopilot and automatic, and you mentioned that. So
okay, yes. So I know they're very similar. It's very similar wording, but automatic is it will just run on its own, just like the emails were before. So as soon as you schedule, we're just going to send those automatic emails out. Versus autopilot, you need to press that button to fly the plane, and then it'll go on its own. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing and I guess open up Q&A, but let's see, we have 2 answered.
One was just a hello.
Oh, hi, Michael. Awesome. So everyone, we're very excited about this feature. I do want to iterate, as I always do, because this is such a customer-centric team, from even our customer facing people, obviously that's our day to day, but our engineers are as well. And so we want to continue to build a product that is customer centric and has our customers in mind. So if there's anything about the tool that you feel could be improved, could really help you with your individual workflows, we are all ears. We love this. And we love to learn from what you're doing. And if you have any exciting learnings that you've found, so if there's a specific flow that has yielded you so many meetings, share that with us. We love to celebrate your successes together, and we really love to learn from you. So feel free to this is an open conversation, open dialogue, and we're really happy. I'm very happy to see all of you here. This is a really high attendance rate. So very happy to be working with all of you.
And we did just get one more question in.
Wonderful.
It says, if we are not connected to someone on LinkedIn and want to send a message, does the tool send an in-mail instead?
So great question. So if you are, so there, I can actually share my screen one more time just so it makes a little bit more sense. I'm a visual learner, so. All right. So if I go back to sequence templates, I also wanted to show you what I was talking about with this drop down. I'll touch on that as well. So if you would like to send a message, so there are two options. There's manual and there's autopilot. So if it's manual, every single time a task comes up for you to execute, we will let you know, and then you have to say yes or no, and you can make any additional changes to it. If you're on autopilot, you click, let's run this, and then it continues to run. If you are not a first degree connection with somebody, we will give you the option to either have us pause. We'll alert you so that you can either skip it or make sure that you're connected before you execute that task. Or you can default to in-mail. So that's what you're asking about. Yes, so we built this in. If you happen to not be a first connection with somebody once this task comes up in the flow, if you turn this on, then you're giving us permission to use an in-mail credit in order to send this message. But great question.
Awesome. And we do have one more.
Great.
So this one's more of a use case. It says, let's say when I opened my LinkedIn and saw that one of my contacts messaged me back and they want to give us time. So I don't know if that might mean either wait a while or possibly are interested in a meeting. Mm-hmm. That says, how would I respond via Amplemarket so that can be tracked in Salesforce? Right now, the LinkedIn Amplemarket only allows you to email and not LinkedIn messages. Am I doing it right? Or is there something else we should be thinking of?
So if I'm understanding this correctly, and I might have to circle back on this with you, if somebody replies via LinkedIn message saying that they would like you to circle back later, is there the ability for you to message them via LinkedIn or via Amplemarket? You could send a one-off sequence. You could send a one-off sequence, but that's a great question. I'll chat with our product team to see if there are any specific recommendations there. We do you're probably referring to similar to the smart actions. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the smart actions, but if I pull this up, you'll see that if somebody replies via email, we can categorize those replies appropriately. And if somebody asks to circle back later, we can actually trigger based off of the date that they're asking within the flow. We can actually set up a sequence to circle back automatically. So as tasks continues to evolve, we will be able to kind of layer some of these different actions into things like smart actions. Another thing I just want to point out is this tool, Inbound Smart Actions, is not very commonly used, and it's an extremely powerful tool. And again, this is another topic that we will probably touch on in another webinar in the future. But this allows you to initiate a sequence if somebody takes an action. So if somebody fills out, if they're requesting an ebook, or if they visit a specific landing page, you can send a webhook into Amplemarket that tells us to immediately initiate a sequence to be sent to this person. And that can be a sequence that involves not just emails, but all of the new tasks as well. So I just wanted to point that out because this is, in my opinion, underutilized and very powerful. So we will touch on this topic again in the future, but if anyone has additional questions about that, let us know. We can send you some information.
And we also just got a clarification on that same question. So it wasn't to circle back, it was that they want to book the meeting. So it might be more of a managing the labels kind of thing. Or
oh, perfect timing. Okay. So if it is managing the labels and just marking somebody as meeting booked, we are within the coming days, probably within the next week or so, we are going to give you the ability to manually add labels or change labels to replies and to leads. So if a lead has booked a meeting with you, you can within Amplemarket actually add that. You should be able to add that tag to their lead. And once that new feature comes out, I can communicate that with all of you as well. It's just a slight change within the UI, but it allows you to add those labels accordingly. So that's a great question and really good timing because this will be coming out within the next few days.
Awesome, cool. If there were follow-ups from that, feel free to keep sending them in the chat, since I know it's not really as much of a back and forth, but if there's any follow-ups, definitely feel free to just keep typing them in.
Yeah. And if after the webinar, if you start thinking, if you just start using the tool, or if you just, any shower thoughts that come up, feel free to shoot us an email to success@amplemarket.com. And we will make sure that as we follow up, we are accounting for all of those questions and answering them in our follow-up with the recording. So we're very happy to hear all of your thoughts, all of your questions, and make sure that you're comfortable with this.
Well said. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, if there aren't any more questions, then I guess we will wrap up a little bit early. I'll give you 20 minutes and change back. And thank you all for joining. We really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.